Hello, everyone. This is my online presentation for my EDU 310 Technology and Education class. My presentation will be on technology and learning, chapters 2.2 and 2.3 in our textbook. Cognitive styles. Cognitive styles are the ways that people think, perceive, and understand information. Everyone thinks differently because everyone is different. People have tendencies and preferences that are specific to that individual. These preferences can be determined and are measurable. There are many ways to measure this, but one of the most common ways is with MBTI. MBTI is Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. This is a personality test that was developed in the early 1920s and is still used in today's psychology fields and in some education. Just like with any other test, it requires the person to answer a series of questions about their preferences. At the end of the assessment, the answers are totaled and are sorted into categories. You then get a final result of 4 letters that will consist of E, S, I, N, T, F, J, or P. The letters stand for extrovert, introvert, sensing, intuitive, thinking, feeling, judging, or perceiving. Everyone has a preference in each of these categories, and each combination will result in a different cognitive style. There are many similar tests out there that uses the same formatting of using letters to determine and explain personality type, but they are not official tests like the MBTI. As I was looking into the MBTI, I found that the test is usually administered by an expert or professional within the psychology field, such as a therapist, consultant, counselor, or coach. If you wish to take the online test, it costs $50. The actual price is $49.95, but that pretty much rounds up to $50. The MBTI is a scientifically validated test, which would explain why the cost is so high. And in comparison to the online tests that people find to determine their personality or what divergent factors they will be in, because these tests that you see on the screen, they are free. However, due to internet safety, you shouldn't just click on these random links because you don't know if the website is actually safe, if it's a scam, spam, virus, and all of that. But as you can see with me pulling up these links, it has the letters that show the results of your personality. Under the MBTI, the SMART test link, it shows a bunch of results with those letters. And the free personality test, 16 personalities link, also shows examples of personality test results. Now, what the MBTI letters stand for, extrovert is more interested in the outer world of persons and events. Introvert, more interested in inner world of concepts and ideas. Sensing, perception based on real objects and solid facts. Intuitive, perception based on possibilities and personal meaning. Thinking, decision based on objective values and views. Judging, lives in a planned, organized way and prefers control. Perceiving, prefers a more flexible and spontaneous way of life. A learning style influences how an individual learns. The 3 most commonly known and identified learning styles are auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, also referred to as tactile. Individuals can learn best by one or all of these styles of learning, but they are not limited to just one. Everyone can learn from each style, but some people learn better with or prefer one style over the others. Everyone can learn using each style, but theorists have suggested that each person has a dominant sensory gateway. This means that it's easier for an individual to learn when the information is being presented in a way that aligns with their learning styles. Learning styles is something very important for teachers to consider because it can aid them in finding different ways to adjust their content to suit their students' needs, which is very beneficial for differentiated instruction. Intelligence, which is the learner's capability to understand and learn, is also a factor in affecting learning. The IQ test, the intelligence quotient, which is what IQ stands for, measures intelligence and was once thought to be the definitive way to measure a person's ability within a certain range. As I've learned within my EDU 400 class, testing was heavily relied on for determining the placement of students in their future. Rather than testing all of their capabilities, they only used the IQ test, which only examined certain areas. One of the most commonly used IQ tests is the Stanford Binet, which was developed by Alfred Binet, a French psychologist. The test was later adapted for the US by Lewis Terman, who came from Stanford University. With the IQ test, teachers were able to get an idea of their students' potential by reviewing their IQ scores. However, the test traditionally measured intelligence based on verbal and math abilities. Conflict with the IQ test because there was a lot of conflict with it since it only measured certain areas of intelligence rather than everything. So it didn't show everybody's max potential, it only showed a little piece of it, and people were judged based on that. Due to the test only covering verbal and mathematical abilities, it was under attack. The test didn't cover other areas of intelligence and only selected those two. Therefore, if there are people who are not too well in those areas, then they receive a low score. Those individuals could be better in other areas, and other than those, but with the way IQ test was used, people will be looked down on for their lack of skill in those selected areas of mathematical and verbal. In the past, around the early 1900s, IQ testing was used to place high school students in society, determining what type of job they should work solely based on their score and not their other capabilities. However, there were people who decided against their placement and they pursued their interests. This led to great achievements and was a shock to see how people excelled in the areas that they were expected to fail at. Multiple intelligences, a theory developed by Howard Gardner. This was introduced a new way of intelligence. His theory was about how there were more intelligences than what was known about. Gardner proposed 9 intelligences, and that the IQ test only covered a few of them. There is more to intelligence than what IQ tests have measured. Later on, Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences was revised by a student of his, which made the theory easier for people to understand and digest. Here are the 9 multiple intelligences and what they stand for. Linguistic, the ability to express abstract concepts. Mathematical, the ability to solve problems with logic. Musical, the ability to express ideas through music. Spatial, the ability to form mental models of a spatial world. Kinesthetic, the ability to solve problems or express concepts using whole or parts of the body. Interpersonal, the ability to understand other people and use this knowledge to achieve goals. Intrapersonal, the ability to form an accurate internal representation of self and use this model to relate to the world. Naturalistic, the ability to recognize, categorize, and relate to the natural world. Existential, the ability to relate to the human condition and engage in transcendental concerns. Now, what I have here in bold and in asterisk is I thought is a very easy to understand example of multiple intelligences in comparison to the IQ test and what they measured. Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences equally recognizes the unique abilities of Mozart, Frank Lloyd Wright, and Babe Ruth, whereas standard IQ tests recognize only Albert Einstein and William Shakespeare, Technology for learning. One of the most common places use One of the most common place uses for technology in instruction is as a personalized, focused reinforcement for learning. Students may need to interact with material presented to them, sometimes repeatedly and using different approaches. This is a major advantage to using technology for learning because technology can allow repetition or review of the content that a student may need. This also provides a personalized experience of learning because the student is able to learn at their own pace. Technology has a major role as a teaching assistant slash aid. As we're moving more towards technology and away from textbooks, technology has been very helpful to teachers. It offers one-to-one teaching opportunities to students, which is a great, especially when the teacher isn't available. Referring back to multiple intelligences and learning styles, technology, although seen as mainly visual and auditory, it can also work with kinesthetic, which would meet all three learning styles. Learning styles and technology. Visually dominant learners can benefit from interactive content presented on a computer screen. Auditory learners can use academic software or audio enhanced lessons to review subjects presented by their teacher. And for kinesthetic, those who need kinesthetic experience for efficient learning can experience content by interacting with the technology and simulating software movement. Other than the touchscreen laptop, there's tablets, camera activities that require movement. VR could also be used for kinesthetic learning, completing an activity that you have to follow a video, and other activities that involve movement of the body. There are many ways that technology can meet the needs of students' learning rather than just being visual and auditory. It can work for kinesthetic as well. In conclusion, although a teacher must often present content in accordance to the majority of learning styles within the classroom, they can use technology to differentiate instruction and address unique styles and needs. And here are my resources. Thank you for listening and watching.